Hey, welcome to the Backwoods Gourmet. Today we got a tropical storm bearing down on us, so everybody needs some comfort food. So today we're going to make a beautiful southern Brunswick stew from a recipe right out of the Lodge Best One Pan Recipes cookbook. So y'all stay tuned. Alright, so we got Tropical Storm Dorian bearing down on us right now. Everybody's been really stressed out because the media's just been going crazy. I didn't think we were going to be able to do a dish today, but it looks like the thing is going to miss us completely. But in our downtime here, I had a chance to go back and I kind of perused this when my wife first got it for me, but I found this great recipe in here for Brunswick stew with chicken. Now, if you watch our channel a lot, you know that we've done Brunswick stew before with the very original recipe, and that's with squirrel. I'll leave you a card right up there somewhere to go back and look at that recipe if you want to try it with squirrel. But obviously a lot of you guys may not have squirrel or don't want to eat squirrel, so we're going to use it today with the more, I guess, city version, but still southern. So there's about 3 parts to this prep and 3 parts to make it a Brunswick stew by their recipe. So you're going to need some time for this. You're going to need probably a couple hours. All right, we're starting pretty early today because the weather's supposed to get worse as we go on, and you're going to see it like it happened right here at the Backwoods Gourmet Studio. Don't worry, there's a lot of ingredients. I'm going to let them scroll at the end, okay? So just stay to the end of the video. You can pause the video right there, write down all the ingredients, and you'll have everything ready to go when you want to make this dish for yourself. So we just gave that thing a quick, what I call a stovetop seasoning. I put a little bit of flaxseed oil in there, and I'll put it on this big burner. It's probably going to stick like crazy initially. It's okay till some of that bacon gets going. And I got the fire off. I'm just using the heat that was left in the pot. So that was 2 strips of thick cut bacon, because we're making a half recipe. If you have that book, that cookbook, and you're looking at that recipe, what we're making here is exactly half of that. Okay? Just not enough people here to eat the amount that they have in the cookbook. But that amount they have in the cookbook is probably 4 to 5, maybe even 6 people. So it calls for this bacon to be crisp enough to crumble, so you want to completely crisp it up. Those look pretty good right there. Go ahead and take them out. Set those aside. We brought over our chicken, but we need more oil. So here we're going to add about a 1/4 cup of olive oil. That's about right. Into that hot pot along with them drippings. And the recipe in the book calls for a whole cut chicken. That's, like I said, going to be a little too much for us. I'm going with 4 chicken thighs, and I'm going to start them out skin side down right into that oil. What we're looking for is to brown these really nice and golden brown. We're on about a medium high heat, okay? And I may have to tweak that here and there to keep it at a medium high heat. We're not really looking to cook them all the way right now, so we want it to be hot enough to brown them without taking a bunch of time and starting letting the moisture from the inside come out, and that'll prevent them from browning actually. So you want them on a fairly good heat at this point. So those of you who only have that regular flat bottom Dutch oven, we call him Lieutenant Dan, he ain't got no legs, with the regular dome lid, or you got that enameled type Dutch oven, with the regular lid. You could do this with that perfectly. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring this dish over to you guys, because I know a lot of you don't have these big camp ovens like we have. You see that skin crisp up around the edges to get a little brown. And if you try to turn these too early, the skin will actually stick. So give it a minute, and you'll get this point where it starts to crisp, and will actually release from the iron. Sometimes you can give them a little wiggle ahead of time. See, that one already, it's kind of hotter back there. My burner is getting a little hot spot on. Really need to do a little rebuild on it, but or refurbishment. But there's a point in time when that skin crisps that it'll just come right up, just like that one just did. The first time I wiggled it, it was still a little bit stuck, but then it came right up, okay? And what we're doing here is rendering that fat and crisping that skin, and it's going to give this broth a freaking awesome color. It's got a little too hot on him. But those are about perfect, and believe me, this is all going to go into a braise, so you're really never going to see if you get a little bit too dark. You're really never going to see that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my fire down just a tiny bit. They kind of look like that on all the sides. I'll go ahead and take them out, put them back on the platter that we took them off of. Poured off about half the oils in there. I can always put it back in, but it's hard to take it out if you start doing this step. So now we're going in with our Trinity. That's carrots, onions. I had sweet red, sweet white, and green, and then celery. Again, I'm going to leave you the recipe. I'm going to turn that fire down just a little bit because it seems a little too hot to me. We're going to give these a stir around in here. And it says about 6 to 8 minutes. So we got that fire cut down a little bit. And we'll go ahead and saute these off. And we'll be ready for next step. Now, since I don't have the ham hot, I'm going to go ahead and lay my ham in here. And I want to pick the fattier pieces also. So what I want to do really is get a little bit of color on that ham, and it's just going to bring out the smoke and the sweetness of it. I'm trying to leave the juice behind there. So I had this vacuum packed. I bought a big ham. I sliced it, vacuum packed it all into individual serving sizes, and this is the one I saved to season beans or season something like this Brunswick stew. So I want to get a little brownness on those, give them a chance to get a little caramelization. So it's starting to get a little brownness, and man, you know, I put that in there and that smokiness from the ham just came right out, and that's the main reason I wanted to put it in there first, because a smoked ham hock would have probably been better. Could have been a little more problem to get it off the bone later, but so this guy gets a shortcut, but it would have been smokier, so I wanted to kind of get some of that smokiness released first. So now it comes back in the chicken, and what we're doing here is building a braising base, and we're building flavor for every one of these ingredients we put in here, and the way we're treating them by browning the chicken and browning the ham and giving a little brownness to those onions. All those steps that we're doing are bringing the sugars out of all the veg and the meats and the smokiness of the ham. It's all coming out, and it's all going to be part of the final dish. So all right, now time to go ahead and with our seasoning. And that's going to be it calls for a teaspoon in the full recipe, so that was about a half. Calls for 1 red chili pepper, that is a red hatch chili, dried, and salt, pepper to taste. I love black pepper, but I gotta watch it for Mrs. Backwoods, okay? Just a couple pinches of that, and I have about a tablespoon of salt. I'm gonna go with about 3/4 of it for now. A tablespoon of Worcestershire. The whole recipe is 1 tablespoon. I like Worcestershire, so I'll go ahead and put the tablespoon in, even though it's a half recipe. Then enough water to cover it completely. Well, 2 quarts didn't quite do it, but it's going to be fine. I'll get them nestled down in there. So I'm going to bring this back up to boil, get a lid on it. And we're going to cook this for about 1.5 hours. Putting a lid on it will help it come up to boil faster. And the Lodge 12-inch cast iron lid with those basting tips, had a couple people ask me about what these little spikes were, and those are to catch the steam and condensation and make it spread evenly out over whatever you're cooking, and it really works well. That's why I like the cast iron lid over the glass lids they make. Another little tip from the Backwoods Gourmet. If you get out camping and you forgot your pot holder, crumple you up some aluminum foil, put it around that handle at the top, and you can pretty much operate that thing with no problem because there's very little conduction. You need to crumple it though. Make sure it's crumpled, okay? Not a super tight fit. And you can actually use that crumpled foil to grab that hot lid without any problem. After we got that up to a simmer there for a little while, now I'm going to go ahead and add in a 14.5 ounce can. Those are just peeled and roughly chopped Roma tomatoes. I want to kind of give that chicken a little head start before I put them in there. The recipe says you can go ahead and put them in there at the beginning, but I don't want them to completely break down the sauce. I want to still be some little chunks in there. So that's why I waited about 15-20 minutes after into the simmer to put them in. It's been about 1 hour and 10 minutes just on a good simmer there. And I just went and checked on the chicken, and it's nice and tender. You can see it's falling apart. That's the one thing great about Dutch ovens. That tight fitting lid, it really does a great job at braising. So we're going to take these out now, okay, and we're going to debone them. So we want to make sure we get the bones, and it's a lot easier with chicken thighs because they're only one bone. Actually, I had a leftover smoked rib. I went ahead and threw him in there too, just because I only had one. All right. So I'm pulling them out and put them over here on the pan again. Then I'm going to kind of squish them down where they kind of separate out because I want them to cool so I can pick all the bone, cartilage, everything out of there. And then we're going to return all that meat to the pot. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and put the lid back on while that's cooling down. Let that broth keep getting richer and richer. So I just deboned out, just using my tongs. It's so nice and tender. Then we're going to go ahead and return all the meat and that skin too. And remember that ham's in there too. That'll probably break down. That was in small pieces. It's going to break down on its own. We don't need to really do anything to it. And we want this in fairly, you don't want to shred it. I don't want it shredded. I want it in fair sized chunks. Stir it right back down in there. Right now, let's get the lid on it. And then we're going to put in our final ingredients. All right, now that we got our chicken back in there, let's go ahead and put in the final ingredients. And it wouldn't be Brunswick stew without some good fresh sweet corn. I just cut that off the cob. Some lima beans. I don't really grow these. They're not very popular around my house. So there's some frozen lima beans. Put about maybe 3/4 cup. And then some okra. I wish I had a little bit more. So it's reduced down really nicely. That only took about 45 minutes, you know, and after about 10 minutes after we put the veggies in there, we took the cover off. And that really is beautiful now. So time to take it off the fire and serve it up. Go ahead and serve this up Backwoods Gourmet style. Yeah, you know, we made this per the recipe, and you know, I like mine a little thicker, not so soupy. But if you like yours a little soupier, then go ahead and add a little bit more water. The other thing that we varied away from the recipe, they told us to take this bacon and crumble it up in with the veg. Well, you know, I didn't want to really do that because I want it to still be crispy. That piece was not quite, but been sitting over here for a while. That was a little better. But I want to have that bacon like on the top be a prominent thing. Got a little fresh green scallion. Those were the tops from the one we used in the very first step. Alright, and then around the sides we got some camp toast. If you'd like to see how to make camp toast, it's just it's basically a buttered fried bread right around the sides, just like that. If you'd like, you can give a little final seasoning to it. I get a little black pepper there, and I have to watch the salt for Mrs. Backwoods, but a little final coarse salt over the top. And there you go. There is a southern style Brunswick stew right from the Lodge cookbook. You're always wanting us to taste our food here on the camera. I really don't know why, but let's go ahead and give it a try. You want a bite of that, I know you do. Wow. So down here in the South, Brunswick stew is a classic comfort food. If you like what we're doing, please smash the like button right down there. Hey, check out the join button right down here somewhere. Click on that. Check out the different options for you to join as a member of the Backwoods Gourmet channel. And don't forget to subscribe. It's going to be right over there for another great Backwoods Gourmet video. It's going to be right over there. And for a whole playlist of cast iron Dutch oven cooking, it's going to be right up there. We'll see y'all next time.